Hi, this is David Allen Lambert. I'm here with Terry O'Connell. We're your virtual historians. And this is our second episode, and we're really excited to introduce a guest that you probably know from the world of genealogy and social media, Christine Woodcock. And Terry, why don't you tell me, you've known Christine a longer time than I have, and from cruising, I believe, right?
No, we didn't get to cruise together.
Oh, okay.
Christine wrote for us when we had the in-depth genealogist going on, which is where I met her from. But we met at RootsTech, so I've actually known you longer.
Okay.
But we met at RootsTech quite a few years ago, and we hit it off. It was like she's like my sister.
That reminds me, this week is RootsTech. We're taping on Saturday, even though RootsTech lasts for a year, so you get to see all those excellent lectures that have to do with genealogy, but also history and technology. So we'll be talking a little bit about later on that in the back end of the show. So Christine, why don't you tell us about what it means to be an ambassador for Forever and what historians and individuals can benefit by?
Sure. So the first time I went to RootsTech, Dave, I was an ambassador, which I think, a lot of us have been. I don't know what you have, you're usually speaking, but Terry and I have both been ambassadors. And I had the opportunity to interview Glenn Meekum. Glenn is the CEO and founder of Forever. Okay. And he was fairly new to the whole marketing, in genealogy world. And so I went, I think it was Catherine Lake Hogan and I did the interview. And I was really quite fascinated by the whole process of what Forever is. So he started the company. He was looking for, after he had been away at service, he came back and he and his wife took, I think he said a camera and an audio recorder, and they went and visited their grandparents and recorded. And then he wanted somewhere to store that. So that future generations could find it. And everywhere he came up against, there were limitations. And so he decided, okay, this is important. So he founded the company. And there were a lot of people that year kind of doing a similar thing. So I wasn't really buying, I was buying it because I could see it's a good idea, but I wouldn't necessarily have picked Forever over the others until, and he was showing us how you could use the pictures that you upload then to create books. And I've been scrapbooking since before scrapbooking was a thing. And I said to him, the guarantee they have like a hedge fund. The guarantee is when you buy storage that most of that money goes into this fund, and it pays for, it's like buying cloud real estate, right? So you pay once up front and then you don't pay again. And if it migrates from, JPEG to some other format, they do all of that. So I don't have to run around and get all that converted again.
Oh, that's really
cool. Yeah, it is very cool. And the guarantee is my lifetime plus 100 years. But I don't really care what happens after 100 years when I'm dead. But I said to him, and it was kind of at the end of the interview, and I said to him, so let me get this straight. If I create a book, like a scrapbook, and my daughter decides after she's had children, because she's really not that interested now, but if she decides after she's had children that she wants to print that book again, can she do that? He said, I'll go you one better. If her daughter decides she wants to print the book, she can do it. And really? From that, I was sold.
That's amazing.
That is amazing.
That is amazing. And part of when you pay for storage, you can get a 2 gig account for free, which I encourage everybody to do. I'm not a good salesperson, so I don't make tons of money on this. For me, it's more about preserving the stories and the photos. But once you get a paid account, you get to set an account manager. So my kids are set up as my account manager, so that when I die, they can take over my account. If you don't assign an account manager, it defaults back to Forever, which is fine. They become like trustees. But if, say, a great grandchild of mine suddenly took an interest in genealogy and somewhere along the line knew that grandma had done something, she could do a Google search, find that I have a Forever account, contact Forever support, prove her lineage to me, and get access.
That's pretty cool.
And that's all written that's all written in their terms of service. So I'm like, okay, I'm all over this now.
That's amazing. Now
So
they've
it
been out
pays
for a
to
few
read.
Absolutely. Now, so they've been out for what, 5 years now or so? Is it or longer?
I first found out about them, I'm going to say 2016 or 16, I think.
Yeah, well,
And
so
he was
years, yeah.
maybe a couple of years old by then.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know I saw them at RootsTech around that same time. And as also an ambassador, I got to go around and meet with a lot of people and try to get ideas for what we could do back where I work in Boston. And it was kind of fun to kind of look at that. And I think one of the things I talked to Forever about, or one of the reps, I may have even talked to the founder, is that historians should use this. I mean, especially historical societies, because think of all these small historical societies that have all these boxes of photos or old films and whatnot, and they really don't have a preservation center. I mean, but they might have a little bit of a budget, or it could pass their membership to go forward and say, hey, listen, let's get an account like this, so in 100 years these are preserved, and it's also digital, because happens if the building burns down or something gets stolen or damaged.
Absolutely.
So that's
And
tremendous.
I've taken, I had old VHS tapes because my husband inherited his dad's video camera when my daughter was born. And it was one of those big things, that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you kind of walk like this for a while after you use those old camcorders, yes.
That's the one. And so her whole life was on videotape. And so I sent those in and had those converted. But just recently, it was actually maybe about a year and a half ago, I was talking to my cousin. She had just, my aunt was in a retirement home, and Fiona, my cousin, had just sold the house. So she had gone in and cleaned everything up. And I always knew that in my aunt's attic, there were photos and old home movies. So I said to her, did you happen to clean out the attic? She said, yeah. I said, did you happen to find any old movies? She said, yeah. I said, well, can I get those from you to digitize them? She's like, sure. So she handed me 22 reels of film.
Wow.
And one of them, we came to Canada in 1960 when I was almost 3. My mom, being from a family of 20, was really homesick. She really missed the chaos, I think, of having her family around her. So she and I went back when I was 4, and there's a movie from that visit.
That's amazing.
There's movies of my 5th and 6th birthday parties, and my cousin when he was born, and oh my gosh, it was just phenomenal to be able to use that. And again, so that was 8mm, and they've digitized it. So now if they go for whatever the next thing is, I don't ever have to worry about getting that done again. They just automatically migrate it for me, which is fabulous.
So what's their pricing to do things like that?
So the 8mm, I think it's 15 cents a foot or something, but the little ones, and actually I felt ripped off because I was used to and not for pricing, but I was used to, like when you get a video done, they're like 2 hours, right? And this is like 3 minutes. And I'm like, what did they do with the rest of it? But you forget that those movies were short then.
Yeah.
So the little ones wind up being about $25.
That's not too bad
at all.
No, and the big ones, they used to take some of them and splice them, and you'd have like a big tin canister thing, and those I think were about 75.
Now, if I wasn't a member of Forever and I wanted to go and have them do that as a service, and I had like a roll of old 8mm film, what do they charge for something like that? Do you have to be a client or?
No. So I actually just did that for a friend of mine who I had grown up with. Her parents and my parents and my aunt and uncle, the same aunt that had these videos or these movies, were really good friends. My uncle and her dad had grown up together in Scotland. And then when they came to Canada, they stayed friends. So I went up and got them from Allison. So what you do is you order a box from Forever. And so the one I ordered was $249, which is the kind of the mid-size box.
Sure.
They FedEx that to me. I put everything in for her. Basically, you just put them all in there. You itemize what you've got. There's little stickers that you put on there, like, the little labels that you put on books that has my account number on it, or not the account number, the order number.
Right.
It has the order number on it and an email address. So I put that on everything. I called FedEx, they came, they picked it back up and sent it off. So the first 2, 4, 8, 10 reels, I think she sent me 12. The first 10 reels were covered by that $249.
Okay.
Wow.
So you get the $249 credit. Now, if you happen to buy the box on sale and say it's, you get it for $199, you still get $249 credit.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so that credit doesn't change. So I think she wound up paying, $75 extra.
Well,
And she doesn't have an account, so they uploaded that into the free account for her. She's not a client per se, but she now has access to all of those videos, all of those movies.
So do they give you like a hard copy on like a Blu-ray or a DVD, or do they give it to you just on the cloud on their?
They give it to you on the cloud, and they give it back to you on a memory stick, the jump drive.
Yep, yep.
But you can also order a DVD of it, and I think it's like another $10 or something.
Well, most DVD players and Blu-ray players now take the USB sticks, which is interesting. A lot of people don't realize that, and you can kind of do it that. Yeah, look at your. Well, I mean, it depends how old it is. I mean, but the one I just bought to replace the DVD player that decided to give up the will to live after 9 years, actually, Blu-ray player, it has a USB port, so you can just put it right in. Yeah.
Well, a lot of the TVs now, you can just put it in there and play it through there, right?
That's true.
Okay, I need new TVs and new gadgets.
I know.
You need to come into the 21st century, girlfriend.
Virtual reality. Come on, stop being in the past.
Listen, I thought I was up to date on everything.
Well, this is great. I mean, I think there's a lot of things out there that people need to know. And so if they want to find out more about Forever, we're going to put up a slide at the end part of it so they can have all the contact information. But if you wanted to tell people how they can get a hold of you, Christine, I'm more than happy to let you share that now to our listeners.
Right. So it's just go to forever.com. You get to choose an ambassador. Just put in Woodcock. I'll come up. Like I say, I'm not driven to sales. I'm my biggest customer. And and if I look back and say for the month I've spent $2,000, I know that like 1,900 of that is mine.
There you go.
Wait, she says that, but as I'm scrapbooking and she knows what I'm scrapbooking, she sends me all these links. Look at this cute little boy stuff. Think about what you could do with that. I'm like, bought.
Exactly.
So she is.
Yeah. And then that then puts you onto my list. So the other thing that I do, Dave, that I think I'm the only ambassador that does it, is I've run webinars.
Oh.
So I've run webinars on using the cloud storage. I've run webinars on creating books. So they have it's called, what is it called? Design and print. And so you can do literally you can do a scrapbook in an hour.
Wow, that's pretty amazing.
Because you just drag and drop the photos in, very little text in it, and it's ready to go. So I have a lot of people who have done that. I personally like the flexibility, and I've now got Terry hooked on the flexibility of their scrapbooking program, because you can add more. I'm really more about the story than I am about the picture. Right. So I want to have the ability to put the text in, and I'm really, if I'm doing something and it's got, I did one, for instance, for a friend who had taken a trip to Portugal. And so I had to go and find, now all this digital art for Portugal. So, I'm the person who scouts that out for Terry, whether she wants to or not.
There you go. Well,
look at this Ireland stuff.
It's interesting. You think about scrapbooking. I mean, how long that's been going on, since well into the 1800s, because you see these scrapbooks that people have that are in archives or in personal homes. And now you could probably take that same old scrapbook, which is probably on some acidic type paper, do it digitally and redo it. Has anybody done that, Christine, at all?
Yes, actually. So this, and I'm not sure the whole connection, so I'm just going to apologize up front in case somebody from Forever is listening to this and knows I have it wrong. But somehow they're connected to the old Creative Memories. I think they bought the digital scrapbooking rights or kits from them. I'm not really, that's the part I'm not sure on. But so I did hard copy scrapbooks. The problem with them, of course, is you do one and you have 3 kids, and then what? But I can take those pages and put those in the box and send those, and they will scan them page by page, and then I just do a blank book, and it's just the same as it was, but it's like a third of the size, and I can make as many copies of it as I want. Right. So
that's cool.
I know, Terry, you did one for the cruise.
I was just going to say, so I did one for our New England cruise last year, and was able with a link to share it to the Facebook group for everybody on the cruise. And one of our attendees actually purchased the scrapbook because I had done, he liked what I had done with it. So it was good that I got to encompass everywhere we went. And then I put the genealogical stuff, like I borrowed some of your pictures, some of Gina's I think they were Gina's pictures, maybe some of Paul's pictures.
Sure.
Christine gave me pictures from Halifax for the stuff that we didn't go see because we went to see Titanic. That I got to put all of that in there for everybody to have these memories. What I like about it is I can remove all those pictures from my account, but because they're in that link on that photo book, it all stays. I don't have to keep all those pictures in the account.
That's right.
So,
Because you don't have pay storage, right?
No.
No, yeah. So that's yeah.
Not
And
yet.
once the book has gone, once you've got it, once you've sent it on to their print department, even if it never actually gets printed,
Sure.
you can the pictures are stay there, so you can delete whatever's in your account.
Right.
If I'm in the process of making the scrapbook and I delete them from my account, then I just get blank stuff. But once that's actually finished and I've sent it through to be printed, even if it stays in, even if I never ever print it, those pictures are still in there.
Yeah.
And recently, Dave, because so along with the after I got the movie reels from my cousin Fiona, I said to her, any photographs? Because Fiona and I were the family photographers, right? We took pictures of everything. And so she handed me, gosh, I'm going to say 6 boxes. A couple of them had old albums in them, the peel and stick.
Oh,
Some
sure.
of them were old black and whites. Like there was a ton of stuff in there. I scanned over 1,000 of them and did a life history book of my aunt. So I did, before genealogy, I was a frontline worker for child welfare. And part of what we had to do was a life story for the kids so that they could understand, where their family of origin was, why they had come into care, and then, if they got on to adoption or foster care or whatever. And so I basically did that same thing. And that's really the things that I've been doing now. But that aunt she was the first one of my mom's siblings to come over, but she's the one that everybody went to until they got on their feet. Wow. So, so it was cool because they've got pictures of the house being built. She's had the receipt, how much she paid for the house. And then I was able to tell the story of, the number of people who came and stayed with her until, in fact, they found their own place or found a job or whatever. So that's, and when I do those, I've done my own, I also include things that are important in history. Like so many of us have lived through, 9/11, we lived through the insurrection last month, we've lived through the pandemic, 2020. I mean, if you live through 2020,
right,
you
exactly.
the war.
Right.
And so, I try to include that, but I also did separate books. I kept a separate yearbook just on everything that happened in 2020, because most of us forget that the year started out with wildfires in Australia. Right?
True.
And so just kind of documented all of that. And then I've kept I'm now on volume 3 of the pandemic. Wow. So the yearbook and the pandemic books are going to go to our provincial archives.
Excellent.
Yeah, we don't have, like you guys have county archives. We don't have that here. We just have provincial. So a copy will go to the provincial archives so that's kept, forever.
Literally.
Literally forever.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love it. I did get to see one of them on the pandemic, or maybe it was a couple of pages. It was a while ago. And she did a great job covering it because she's got pictures of the essential workers. She's got some of the crazy memes in it that are all over Facebook. So it's all the stuff that's really like 10, 20 years from now, you're going to look back and be like, oh my God, those stupid memes, they were everywhere.
Right.
But it was such a big part of the pandemic because we needed the laughter.
Like
so
the smiley
I think it's
faces
great.
with the masks,
Yeah.
Well, that's great. Well, Christine, really thank you for coming in and telling us about Forever. And, it makes me even want a scrapbook now. I guess I'll have to have some more prodding from Terry and you to figure out what
I'll tell you, Randy Seaver has sent in all kinds of movies to be digitized. Like really? I'm going to say he's close to 50 or 60 that he's sent in, and he's had all of those digitized. So yeah.
I will say the one thing I like is I talked to them at the booth last year at RootsTech. I have one Super 8 It is of my dad's mom. She died when I was 8, and I don't want to put it in the mail. And I was very adamant that I was not shipping it. And he was so nice. And he goes, you could bring it to us and we will do it.
Yeah, well, I actually was really worried about that when I sent my first batch in, because it had my mom on it who had passed away and my husband who had passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And I called and said, listen, this is everything I have in terms of memories, and I don't want to send it. And you know what? They have it every step of the process. You can follow and see where your stuff is.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I just like that they were really willing to work with me when I was like, you just don't understand. Like, she died when I was 8. It's the only thing I have. My mom, I don't even know why my mom had it, but she gave it to me a few years ago. Right. And she's like, grandma's on this, you'll want to hold on to it. And I was like, oh my God, I've got to get it.
A friend of mine actually has audio tapes of her dad and her granddad, and she has those uploaded in her account as well.
Oh, that's awesome.
So she can hear her dad, and her kids can hear their great grandfather.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's really, really cool.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Well, thank you so very much. And I hope that some of the listeners out there will take advantage of beginning to think about scrapbooking. It's not just for your grandma anymore. And also, preserving those pictures, because, it's nice to have them on your phone. There's nothing wrong with having a phone with photos on it. But if you don't preserve them, they're just in memory that could be a one button gone forever.
They're just going to sit in this plastic for the next 20 years.
Yeah.
People tell me they have thousands upon thousands of photos, and I ask them, how many have you printed out? How many have you done?
Exactly.
And the percentage is so small.
Exactly. So,
well, thanks again,
awesome.
Christine, and awesome to have you on the show.
Good to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Oh, my pleasure. Our pleasure. All right. Talk to you later. I'll tell you, RootsTech would have been a lot more fun if we could have been there in person, but virtual RootsTech Connect has been pretty cool.
I definitely agree. I'm missing my friends. There's a lot of great video content out there. And the best thing about that is you can watch it for a year.
An entire year. And I think somebody said that if you watched 6 hours a day for every day for the entire year, you might be able to see all of it. So you're already a couple of days late if you haven't done that.
Right. That's a lot of watching.
There's a lot of really amazing tech out there. And I think as VR historians, we're always looking for new and exciting things. So hopefully we can get a couple of these folks on the show coming up. So my fingers are crossed. But I thought I'd give you kind of a sneak peek. So let me share my screen. I'll tell you, one of the things I really love that was brought out during RootsTech Connect 2021 is computer-assisted indexing. And this is done by FamilySearch.org. And Terry, this is great because think of all the historical documents out there that people have really had a hard time reading. And now you can actually use this software to index.
I have a 160-page Civil War pension file that I have not transcribed, that I am dying to put through at least a page or two to see what all it says.
Well, that's a great thing. So let's take a peek and show you an example in English so that they have. So what you've got here is you have the document, and what it's looking at on the right is a transcription, and it's actually getting the places are in orange, the person is in green, and any dates that come up are in blue. So that's pretty amazing. And just think this is just the tip of the iceberg on this technology, and probably will make it a lot easier for people to transcribe. But you know what? I also like to think that people should learn how to read handwriting. So this is going to take a little bit of both technology and also reading cursive to be useful for the next generation. So you get a little bit of an in.
Yeah, especially for the kids who weren't learning it in school for a while.
I mean, you and I have to be part of the last generation where cursive handwriting and penmanship was probably a way of life. I mean, I don't think it's even taught in a lot of schools in the United States now.
Yeah, I think it's coming back, but yeah.
Well, this is great. So I can tell you that there's a lot of times that I wish I had a second opinion. Well, maybe the computer now through computer-assisted indexing from Family Search will do just that. Now, the other thing that I love is what happened with MyHeritage. Deep nostalgia. Now, we've already really lucked out with MyHeritage. If you're had a chance to colorize an old black and white photo, or if you've had a chance to enhance it, it's amazing. Then you can take them and print them out or put them online. They've gone a step further and reanimated our ancestors. And for historians, this will be both fun as well as kind of useful. You may be able to take a look at a historical picture in your collection, may it be a family member or something in your historical society or archive, and add another twist. And it might be fun to show the young historians something like this. So let me give you an example. This right here is just an example of my great-grandfather's brother, who was born in 1859 and died in 1934. And I already have that one up on the screen, but I'm going to show you how easy it is to do this. And I'm hoping that we can have one of our friends from MyHeritage come out and give us a whole walkthrough and the behind the scenes tech, but this is sort of a teaser. So I'm going to upload another photograph. I'm going to go into my pictures, get this out of the way. And I'm going to look and find a picture of my grandfather. So my grandfather, I never knew, and died sometime probably in the 1950s. We're not entirely sure because he disappeared. He's my big mystery. So if I was to meet him in, say, 1950, this is maybe what he would have looked like. This is the only photograph we have, and it's been colorized by MyHeritage. And now, for the first time, I'm going to see it animated by MyHeritage through this wonderful process of deep nostalgia. Oh my goodness. That is unreal.
It is very cool. They've put a lot into their tech this past year.
It's amazing. And for a person like myself who does not have a home movie of my grandfather, and I never had a chance to know him, you know, I mean, it's almost like I'm just waiting to kind of hear him speak now. So maybe that's next.
I will say, in a lot of the reading I've done in social media, people are saying don't do it with somebody that you knew or somebody that you're really missing. It's just a little bit too much to handle.
Yeah.
Do it with those that have passed on before you were born.
Right, exactly. And so in the case of James Albert George Lambert, wherever you are out there in the world, still looking for you, he'd be 134. If you see him, let me know. Now, we were talking about virtual reality from the get-go, and I thought it'd be great to plug an app for the Oculus that we both love. And again, this is just our own personal review. Doesn't mean you have to run out and get it. It's just a suggestion, but you really can't beat Wander. $9.99. I think that in 2020, Terry, we spent so much time at home, we really didn't get a chance to wander, even down to the street that we grew up. But with this app, it's amazing.
I love it. And I want to say this. I want to say that I know a lot of people love Google, like the I forget what Google calls it, but you can do almost the same thing, right? But with Wander, you can create basically a little group and bring people along to do a tour. So when we tried this out originally, you took me on a tour of homes from your family. I took you on a little tour of Chicago, the places that I grew up. And I just think it's great that you can do that.
Well, you know, I've always said, you know, there's bucket lists, but now for $9.99, you can kind of make that a VR bucket list. So virtual historians invite you to try this out. Let us know what you think. Tell us where you've gone, and maybe we can get you as a guest, and you can tell us about your adventure around the world. I went to Red Square in Moscow. Always wanted to see it.
Did you?
It was amazing. It was like, wow, I'm right there. I'm like, I wonder what's down this street.
That's hysterical.
Took my daughter back to Edinburgh, and we wandered around the Royal Mile. I went back to where my great grandparents lived in Cranach in Cheshire, England, and walked right by the farm. In fact, I think I showed you where.
Yes.
And I mean, yeah, it's amazing. And what I find really even cooler is that you can peel back different views from this technology and see what it looked like, you know, up to about a dozen years ago, 10 years ago?
Roughly, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. So
it's using the same technology as Google Earth. I couldn't think of Earth a few minutes ago. It's using the same technology as Google Earth, and you're peeling back the Google Earth layers of when they videoed it last. Now, I will tell you, Wander was the first thing I downloaded. I downloaded it on Christmas Day, and I spent the morning in Ireland. I figured if I was stuck at home by myself, I was going to do something cool.
Exactly. And I really thought it was amazing to kind of just like wander up the streets where my parents lived, or go to where, an address that I had on a document, wanted to see where it was, or I wanted to revisit some place that I was supposed to visit last year. So it's kind of fun. Not as good as being there, but virtually the next step away. So.
And you can create a video too. So like if you, let's say your friends don't have it, you can go through and videotape the whole thing. I don't believe the audio will tape, but you can add that later if you have that kind of stuff on your computer, that kind of technology.
Yeah, you can overdub the audio to it, which would be great.
Yeah, so, I mean, think about creating that tour for your family or the young generation that you want to get interested in history, You can show them their history.
What a great little trip down memory lane. You could show your kids where you went to school, where your parents may have worked. And then it's really kind of like a note to the future. If you save and preserve that video, you now can have sort of like a timeline of places you worked and went to school and places you enjoyed going to, and leave it for future generations if you record it and preserve it.
That's amazing. I didn't think about that, but that's amazing. Yeah.
So like what we talked with Christine earlier about preserving videos, why not digital videos you create on your computer from things like this? So
absolutely.
Well, I'm going to go back and put my headset on and virtually wander someplace. Until next time, virtually yours, your virtual historian, Dave Lambert and Terry O'Connell signing off.
See you soon.
Take care.